In this video, we're gonna learn how to make this super soft and cozy blanket that is customizable to any size. You can make it a baby blanket like I did, or you can make it a super large Afghan. Let's go ahead and get started. So for this blanket, I'm using Bernat baby blanket yarn in their frosting line. This is a very soft yarn. I definitely recommend it for any blankets. Bernat regular blankets is a little rougher. I don't want to say rougher. It's not as soft. Still great for blankets, but this is really truly a soft yarn. Best yarn for blankets in my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and use this, and it's already variegated, so you really don't have to have a pattern. You can just let the colorway do its thing. And I'm going to be using a size 7 hook. To get started, I'm just going to do a slip knot like so. Okay, and I'll pull this yarn up through the loop on my hand and then insert my hook here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to chain as wide or as long as you want the blanket to be. So I'll go ahead and just start chaining until I have the set amount that I want. And you can kind of look up online, or I'll even put in this video how long for each size blanket, depending on which size blanket you want to make. So what you can do is chain until where you're comfortable with how long you think the blanket should be. And then what you can do is go ahead and measure your chain to see how long it is. Obviously, your blanket's not going to be 4 inches long. But for example, in the one I got started here, if we take this measurement, I'm not gonna measure on the table, I don't have room, but it's about 30 inches. So, and I made mine a square. So for 30 inches, I had a chain to get that length. So just keep chaining until you have the measurement that you prefer for how wide your blanket is. All right, so we're gonna make a little sample blanket here. I went ahead and chained this length. Obviously for a blanket, it'd be much longer. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna count back to the third chain from the hook. So that's 1, 2, 3. This one right here, 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to double crochet into that space. Like so. And then in every chain on the way all the way back down, you're going to double crochet in each one. So I'll just show you how to do a double crochet in case you don't know. You'll yarn over, go into that space, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. And we're just going to go ahead and do that in every single chain on the way back down. Now, crocheting with plushie yarn can be a little difficult because you really can't see what you're working into. You got to go more by feel. So using your thumb and your middle finger here, you can kind of really feel those each individual bumps of where you want to go into. So I'll go into here, I'll do a double crochet. And the great thing is with plushie yarn, it's also very forgiving. So if you do even make a mistake, it's most likely not going to be noticed at all. So I'll just go ahead and crochet double crochets back down my chain here, and I'll meet you when we get to the last chain. All right, so I went ahead and put double crochets in each chain all the way back down. So to start our second row, we'll just turn our work to the left like a book page here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a stacked double, and it just is going to give us really clean edges. So how to do a stacked double is you'll insert your hook back into the stitch you just came out of, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both, but keep it kind of loose. You're going to have 2 loops here, 1 and 2. Put your hook back into the loop to the left and go ahead and yarn over and pull up through that, and then yarn over and pull through those 2. So it's like you're putting 2 single crochets on top of each other. Then for each stitch in the next one here, because we're going to count that one as our first double crochet, we'll double crochet in the back loop only. So what that means is if I went into the whole stitch here, I would go in like this, and I'd have the whole kind of V on my crochet hook. So 1 loop, 2 loops. But instead we're going to go into the top of it and just get that 1 back loop on there and complete our double crochet. So we're going to do that all the way back down. And once you get back down here, again, you would go ahead, turn your work, do your stack double, and do the same thing back and forth. So at this point, we're just working on the length of our blanket here. So we go into the back loop, double crochet, and again, it's more about feeling. And what going in the back loop does is it's going to give you kind of a ridge look on your blanket. So you can see how it kind of creates this line here. I'll show you on a blanket that's more completed here. It's going to give you this effect. So when you look at it, you're going to have these lines in your blanket just to kind of give it a little bit of texture and just a little bit, something more than just a plain double crochet blanket. So it just gives a little something I think looks really cute. And that's the effect that working in the back loop will give you. So I'll go ahead and finish this row, and then again, I'll show you how to go ahead and turn and go to your next row. All right, I'm gonna stop here and show you the #1 mistake every beginner makes when they're first starting the crochet blankets, and while they'll get skinnier instead of staying the same width. So you can see I've double crocheted on the way back, and I double crocheted in the back loop of this stitch here. And it may look like you're done that row, but you've actually forgot to go ahead and put a stitch on top of your turning chain here. So what we need to do is we need to crochet into that too. So you definitely want to put a double crochet into that as well. And in the last stitch of every row, I always do it in the full stitch, not just the back loop. So I went ahead and I just chained into that turning chain we did. And now we have our correct amount of stitches. A great way to keep track of your stitches so you don't lose one at the end of each row each time is to either put a stitch marker in it to make sure, hey, I need to go there, or to count your post. So you can see one here, one on top, one here, one on top, one here, one on top, and so forth, and count your post all the way down. It's easier to me than counting the stitches at the top, which can be a little confusing. So again, we would turn our work and then go ahead and do a stack double by going into the full stitch, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through both. Go into the back loop here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both. I have my stack double now on top of my first stitch, and then again I'll yarn over, start in the next stitch, and do my back loop double crochets all the way down. And just make sure again when you get to this last stitch, see with our stack doubles it's easier not to miss it, go into the full stitch. So I'll show you that when we finish this row here. Alright, so I went back down, did my double crochets in the back loop only, all the way down, and here's my last stitch. Right above this post here, that's our stack double. So in the last stitch, I'll just go ahead and work through the full stitch instead of just the back loop. And that's it. From there, you're just building up. So you'll just continue on until the length is as long as you want for your blanket. So remember, our chaining was how wide our blanket is, and the length will be how long it is. Unless you wanted your stitches to go the other way, you would do it opposite and chain how long you want it to be, and then continue as wide as you want the blanket to be. But if you're making a baby blanket, most times I make them a square anyway, so just depends how you want it to look. And then from there, yeah, you'll just do your stack double, back loop double crochets, make sure you put a full double crochet in the last one, not just back loop, turn and keep it going all the way. And then I'll meet you back where we can go ahead and make our border. All right, so at this point, we've made our blanket as long as we want it to be. Again, I'm doing a baby blanket, so I made mine 30 inches by 30 inches. But unfortunately, the border of our blanket, it just looks really unfinished. Like, yeah, it's okay. It looks like a straight line, but we want to give it more style and make the blankets have a prettier look on the edges here. So my go-to is always a shell stitch border, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So you'll go ahead and we'll start at any corner of our blanket here. And then whatever color you want your border to be, we're going to go ahead and put that color as a slip knot on our hook here. So I'm going to go with a gray border in the same yarn. And I'm just going to go ahead and insert it into this first double crochet. So I'll go ahead and put it in, yarn over, and I'm going to go ahead and single crochet it on, just like that. So I have my new yarn attached here. I'm going to first do a row of single crochets around the whole blanket so that my shell stitches have a nice little beginning to attach to. So I'll just go in every stitch around the whole blanket and do single crochets. And if you don't know what a single crochet is, it's basically where you'll insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through two. And I'm just going to do that all the way around. So I'm starting in the top of the stitches here, and on the other side, when I get down here, you'll see you don't have stitches to work into. You have the post because it's the side of the blanket. So I'll show you what to do when we get there. So I'll meet you back at this corner. All right, so I went ahead and single crocheted all the way down this side here, and I've reached my corner where now I'm going to have post to work over. So what I do, and I also have an end of my yarn here, I'm going to go ahead, and this is just a personal preference, I kind of tie that yarn to the yarn I'm working with currently with just 2 knots just to kind of secure it to it. And then I'm going to weave this yarn in as I go so I don't have to worry about it later. So I'll show you how to do that too. So I'm just going to put it behind my work here, or excuse me, I've got it around the wrong way. Put it behind there. And I'll work over it like I work over the stitches, but that's totally optional. You can always weave it in later. I'm just trying to make life easier on myself. So we have a post here, but we're also at a corner. So on the corner, I'm going to single crochet over the post entirely, but I'm going to do it probably 2 times, I'm going to say, because if you don't do enough over your corner, it's going to kind of suck it on itself. So I'll just do 2 single crochets over the corner, and then for each post, I'll do 2 single crochets. Again, we only have extra there because it's a corner, so we want to just give it room to kind of breathe and be a nice rounded corner there. All right, and then every post on the way down, you can see I have my post here, 2 single crochets over the whole post, like that. Come to our next post, 2 single crochets over the whole post. And just for that strand, you can see I'm holding against the back and I'm just weaving it right in under my single crochets as I go. So next post here, 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And I'm just going to do that all the way around. So now you know how to work into the single crochets and over the post, and we'll meet you back when you have your single crochet round all the way done across your whole blanket. And just as a reminder, I went ahead and did my whole post row, and I'm back here at the corner. I am going to do the 2 over the post plus an extra 2 since it's our corner. And then I'm going to go ahead and start working into each single crochet as well. And then I'll go back down. All right, so I went all the way around with my single crochets and I'm back at where I started. So I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet I made by inserting my hook into the stitch, pulling a loop through and pulling it directly through the first loop on my hook. And there we are, back at the beginning. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and tie this to this. I just feel like it makes it extra secure. So I'll just tie that there. And I'll weave in this piece later. All right, and now we have this nice layer of single crochets to go ahead and build our shell stitches off of. Now let's say you don't want the shell stitches, you could just do several rounds of single crochet like this just to kind of even out a nice little border around your blanket. But if you want to do a shell stitch, which I love, we're going to go ahead and start it by going ahead and into the first stitch, doing a single crochet. So we kind of backtrack over that slip stitch there, skip a stitch, and in the next one put 5 double crochet. So it's yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So 5 double crochet all in that same stitch. So it's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. And then again, we will skip a stitch and single crochet in the next one. And what that does is give us a beautiful little shell here. Look how cute that is. And then again, skip a stitch, do 5 double crochet in the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pardon me if you can hear my dog snoring in the background. And then you'll go ahead and skip a stitch and single crochet in the next one here. And that's the pattern you're going to follow all the way around. So again, you'll single crochet, skip 1, 5 double crochet, skip 1, single crochet, skip 1, 5 double crochet, skip 1, single crochet. And you're going to repeat that all the way around the blanket until you have all these little ruffles going all the way around, and I'll meet you back. All right, so I went ahead and made it all the way back around with our shell stitches here. Now you may have an extra stitch here. What you can do, depending on how many you have, like so I would skip 1 and put a single crochet here. And then I kind of have the choice of trying to add another shell stitch in here or just going ahead and slip stitching. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch because I feel like there's not enough room for another shell. So I'm just going to slip stitch to that starting single crochet and chain 1 to fasten off there. And then I'll go ahead and clip my yarn, leaving enough room to weave in and pull up and out. And then what I'll do is I'll just tie my starting chain and my ending chain together and take a needle and I'll weave in this end. And that is it. That's the end of our beautiful blanket. Let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. So this is our beautiful blanket all complete. You can see we have our double crochet in the back loop only rows, as well as our single crochet border and then the shell stitch on top of it. If you wanted to make your border even bigger, you could always do a couple rows of single crochet before starting your shell stitch border. But yeah, that's our cute little baby blanket, and you could totally customize it to make it as large as you want. Hope you enjoyed.